Hello, and welcome to my guide to the DP store on Mobile Suit Gundam Battle Operation 2. This video is intended for newer players who are just joining us for a recently released PC version, but the device also works for console players. I will be going over what I think are the best options for new players to buy from the DP store. This includes things such as mobile suits, weapons, and custom parts. I will also go over what you can acquire from the in-game training missions, which should save you some DP to use on other stuff. With that out of the way, let's begin. I will be starting off at 300 cost, since this is the lowest cost you will see in rated matches, in the console version at least. There are a few good options here that should carry you fairly well. For support players, I can easily recommend the mass production type gun cannon. This has pretty fair mobility, but it also has a high damage combo by first stunning an enemy with your shoulder cannons and then firing your machine gun. This type of combo is pretty common across supports in this game. It doesn't cost any DP, because all players have this suit by default. If you're wanting to play with generals, then what I can immediately recommend is a Gym 2. It has high HP and good mobility, so it can be a good introduction to playing frontline generals. It costs 4100 DP. For Rage players, I can recommend the E3DS. Raids are pretty difficult for a newbie, but this one isn't too complicated. It carries a shotgun which can easily stagger the enemy and has short cooldown. This can then combo into its powerful melee weapon. It even has a smoke launcher as well, so you can ambush the enemy with temporary stealth if used at the right time. It costs 5600 DP. Moving on to 350 cost now. You should be fine playing the level 2 versions of the previously mentioned suits if you are comfortable with them, but there are good options for level 1 350 costers as well. I think the Power Gym is a good choice for generals here. It isn't quite as durable as a Gym 2, but it carries higher power versions of the same weapons basically. It has very high mobility for this cost, having access to rare skills like flight control which allow you to boost mid-air while falling. This is one of the suits which players have by default, so you don't need to spend any DP here. The 350 cost support I'm about to recommend can safely be substituted for the level 2 mass production gun cannon, but still worth considering I think. The level 1 gun cannon is a pretty slow support, but it has one of the highest damage range combos at this cost. Its game plan is basically the same as the mass production version, just that your primary weapon is a high-powered and long-range beam rifle, rather than a machine gun. It costs 4600 DP. 350 cost raids are not really newbie-friendly, but if you want to play raid at this cost, then the Gundam high-speed experimental type can still be a good option. Its claim to fame is its absurd mobility. It can easily outpace anything else at this cost. It benefits from having 2 instant stagger weapons and a polearm melee weapon, which can instantly knock over the enemy with regular swings, similar to what the E3DS can do. It costs 8100 DP. Onwards to 400 cost, you'll begin to have a lot more options, but I will still be recommending one suit per class. This 400 cost general is basically perfect for newbies with its versatile weapon selection and high durability. The Isaac can take the same bazooka as the Power Gym, or it can use its default machine gun instead. This is basically up to preference, but this machine gun is one of the better ones to use in GBO2 because of its ability to quickly stagger the enemy. The Isaac costs 10,100 DP. Though I must also mention, the suit comes with a caveat of ideally needing the Heathawk melee weapon rather than the Beam Saber. The Isaac Heathawk is an additional purchase in the DP store, costing 4800 DP. This raid is a good introduction to using charging beam rifles, which are pretty common in this game. The Galgug M is a 400 cost raid which is pretty easy to get the hang of. It has good durability like the Isaac, but also high mobility. Its basic game plan is to charge your beam rifle for a stun, and to then combo that stun into a melee attack. It can be acquired for free from the training missions in base camp, but its beam rifle is acquired for buying the level 1 Galgug. This costs 7100 DP. 400 cost supports have some strong options, but they're all a little unconventional. Now, the Galgug ground type is probably your best bet here. It offers higher mobility than most supports, while also having a versatile loadout which can handle just about any situation. Its default weapon is a assault-to-fire beam rifle which instantly staggers the enemy, but it can also take the standard Galgug beam rifle if you bought it for a previously mentioned Galgug Marine. It has strong melee ability, so I think it could be a great choice once you're comfortable with it. It costs 6600 DP. At 450 cost, you will begin to notice that many suits start getting faster, along with having more advanced skills than those at lower costs, but it still isn't too bad for a newbie I think. Garibaldi Beta is a bit of a step up from the lower cost generals. It has high mobility, along with good mobility skills like force injector and flight control. It is a pretty simple melee suit. You stun the enemy with either your beam rifle or shield missiles, and you go straight into a downswing melee attack. This downswing is incredibly fast, so it was almost certain to hit the enemy before they can dodge roll away. It costs 9600 DP. This 450 cost support is pretty slow, but it has some of the highest damage at its cost if your aim is good. The full armor Gundam plays a little bit like the lower cost gun cannon. You fire a cannon shot and then you combo that into 2 beam rifle shots. This combo both deals high damage and can stop incoming raids. It has high powered chest muscles on top of that, which can be used to self-defense or to deal even higher damage. This one doesn't require any DP. You can get for free from the training missions in base camp. The G3 Gundam is a bit different from previous raids on this list. It still has acceptable melee performance, but where it shines is in mid-range harassment against supports of the bazooka and beam rifle combo. It is squishy but quite nimble in terms of walking speed, so it's a reliable suit once you get used to it. All players have this suit by default, so you won't need to spend any DP. 500 cost suits aren't too much of a step up from 450 cost ones, so it won't be too tricky to learn these suits. The Rick DS is a 500 cost general, which while still capable of going to melee with its stuns, is also quite capable of shooting from mid-range. It has a powerful clay bazooka that can combo into equally powerful beam pistols for good damage from basically any distance. It also has Vulcans which can stagger the enemy with enough hits. It costs 20,200 DP. You will probably find the Full Armor Gundam Type B to be very similar to its 450 cost counterpart. It is basically a straight upgrade. It has the same game plan of shooting a cannon shot before beam rifle shots, but also has more weapons such as a guided missile and rapid fire missiles. It is one of the best 500 cost supports in general. It costs 19,000 DP. Unfortunately, there are no level 1 500 cost raids which can be purchased as a beginner. The level 2 G3 Gundam will do just fine though. It gets good stat boosts for going to level 2 as well. It costs 10,700 DP. 550 cost will be the final cost we are looking at today. It is basically as high as I would recommend new players to go, since 600 and higher can get pretty complicated. These suits are still pretty easy to understand though. The Gundam GPU-1 is a really simple to play 550 cost general. It has a fast cooldown beam rifle, which can instantly stagger the enemy, along with strong Vulcans that have high DPS and stagger accumulation. Similar to the Garibaldi Beta, it has a fast downswing which can easily knock over enemies. It costs 21,600 GP. Super Gundam is about as simple as 550 cost supports get. It has a sniper rifle primary which can fire regular stagger uncharged shots, or heavy stagger charge shots. Its most powerful weapon is its missile launcher though. This has short reload time, tons of ammo, high DPS, and great stagger ability. You can even fire it while boosting. You can pretty much just run around firing these missiles all day to do a ton of damage. It costs 20,100 DP. The last suit we will be looking at today is the 550 cost Raid Gerber Tetra. It has a beam machine gun primary which has good mid-range DPS. It can also stagger the enemy in one burst if your accuracy is good. It gets a machine gun sub-weapon which also has high DPS and stagger accumulation. It is fine to just shoot at the support of these, but it has a powerful beam saber to use if you get close enough. It costs 19,500 DP. And that's the end of my recommended suits list. I won't go on to mention 600 cost since I think it's best for newbies to just avoid costs higher than 550, just until they're comfortable with the game's mechanics. All these suits should serve you well in raid matches and will be pretty useful for learning the game with. I'll be finishing off this video with my recommendations of what custom parts to buy with your remaining DP. You can acquire some parts just from completing the in-game simulator missions, so that will save you some DP. The most important parts to acquire early on would definitely be those that increase HP. Durability is one of the most important things you can have in this game. Living longer lets you do more damage and be there to support your teammates more. So right away, I'd recommend buying all the strength and frame parts. If you plan on playing raids, then it is definitely a good idea to buy the level 1, 2, and 3 thruster parts. After that, buying your resistance parts for beam and melee resistance will be very helpful. I'd recommend only going for level 1, 2, and 3 because level 4 and 5 are pretty expensive. You'll be fitting melee defense in particular in almost every suit, especially low cost ones. After defense is out of the way, you can consider getting parts to increase your damage output. Range damage parts are usually the best option for support units other than health parts. For every other suit, you will want to spec into bulk first and foremost. Melee damage is the least important to grab early on, but it can still be important in some builds. Other custom parts like shield HP or thruster cooldown parts are much more situational, so I won't be going over them in this guide. If you do all the training missions and simulator missions, you will probably have enough DP to get everything I've listed here, or you will nearly have enough anyway. Before I end the video, I would also like to say a few things. These are just my personal recommendations for what would be easy to acquire for a beginner, but if you see something else you like in the store, then feel free to experiment. You'll probably get some stuff from the gacha over time as well that you might like instead. But even if the suit's from the DP store, you can do very well in raid matches. Thank you very much for watching until the end.